Well, we'd like to welcome you all to this week's episode of Governing Georgia, a show right here on WTOC Plus, where each week we're breaking down the major bills and proposals moving through the Georgia Capitol and explaining what they mean for you, your family, and your community. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley, and we begin with this. Tensions that boiled over more than 1,400 miles away in Minnesota are now rippling through Georgia's state capitol. Democrats and Republicans are clashing over rhetoric, responsibility, and constitutional rights. State House reporter Abby Casores has a look at the debate going on under the Gold Dome.
ICE out! ICE out! What began as protests over immigration enforcement in Minnesota has turned deadly. VA nurse Alex Pretty was shot and killed during a confrontation with Border Patrol and ICE agents. It's in a Minneapolis neighborhood. Video shows him wrestled to the ground before shots were fired. Less than 3 weeks ago, a few miles away, Renee Good was also killed. Both deaths are under investigation, both captured on video, now spreading nationwide. Those images are now driving fear and outrage at Georgia's Capitol, with Democrats warning what happened there could happen here.
They're not only targeting sort of criminals or whatever the messaging has been around this, it's clearly been false. They are targeting children, they're targeting families, they're targeting citizens, they're targeting everybody. Without being able to assert our rights, we simply don't have them.
Democrats took to the well, calling what they see a dangerous escalation and accusing ICE of overreach.
Consider joining me on House Bill 470, which affirms that schools, hospitals, and churches are places of refuge, not fear.
On the other side of the hall, State Senator Josh McLaurin introduced a resolution condemning the killing of Alex Pretty, urging lawmakers to protect peaceful assembly and gun rights from federal enforcement abuse.
Just remember that somebody's voice has to be raised for this to stop. Somebody's has to.
Republicans pushed back, warning that heated rhetoric itself could fuel violence. Former law enforcement officer Representative Clint Crow says law enforcement is being unfairly vilified.
When you have people in positions like ours, in positions of leadership, that are, again, dehumanizing and demonizing a group of individuals, and when you create that type of environment, it leads to negative outcomes that are going to get people hurt, not just the officers, but the public that's going out as well.
Outside the political fight, the Georgia Sheriff's Association is working to calm fear, stressing local deputies are not immigration enforcers, even as state law requires coordination with ICE.
Our sheriffs and our police departments and our state law enforcement agencies, they protect each other, and they operate by the rule of law.
Well, the other major state story we've been tracking this week comes out of Fulton County, where leaders say they're not backing down after the FBI raided their elections headquarters. County officials say the FBI took 700 boxes, and they don't know where those records now are. County leaders say requests to catalog or copy what the FBI took were denied. While Fulton County says it doesn't know exactly what was seized, our sister station did obtain the search warrant, showing it included 2020 ballots, voting machine printouts, recount records, and voter rolls. The court documents detailing the target of the search remain sealed, however. Yesterday, Chairman Rob Pitts said the county will fight this.
We will not give 1 inch to those who seek to take control of elections in Fulton County. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. We're going to fight this in court with every resource that we have.
Now, Chairman Pitts said he believes this seizure has less to do with the 2020 election and more to do with the 2026 and 28 elections, and that this was meant to cast doubt on Fulton voters that their ballots won't be secured. And that federal raid sent state lawmakers into a war of words at the state capitol. Yesterday, lawmakers spent more than an hour arguing over the 2020 election. Abby Casores was at the state capitol when those heated exchanges went down.
While senators debated the FBI raid in the 2020 election for more than an hour, students, parents, and advocates stood outside the chamber doors, urging lawmakers to move forward and deliver for the people of Georgia. Legislative Day 9 opened with unfinished business after the FBI raided the Fulton County Elections Office on Wednesday, pulling the Georgia Senate into a tense, hours-long back and forth. Not a vote, but a series of points of personal privilege, relitigating 2020, what happened, and what comes next.
A warrant was issued by a magistrate judge based on probable cause. That is the way that the law enforcement process works in America. It's darn near past time for Fulton County to clean up their voter rolls.
Republicans framed the raid as accountability. Democrats warned it could set a dangerous precedent with consequences for future elections.
This is not about 2020. This is about 2026. This is about who controls what comes next.
While the chamber remained locked in debate, students pressed senators at the ropes about college costs. Parents pushed for help with childcare.
My 6-year-old, her name is Aurora, and my 7-year-old, her name is Khadijah.
Parents like Samantha Shepard are trying to get lawmakers to listen. She's concerned about shrinking childcare subsidies, making it harder for families to care for their children. For advocates watching from the hallway, every hour spent debating the past means less time to pass bills that could shape Georgia's future.
It is extremely frustrating because you want to go backwards. We're trying to go forward. We need help where it's in 2026. We need help for the now.
Lawmakers will be back here on Monday. We're nearly a quarter of the way through the legislative session, meaning we're running out of time to vet and vote on bills before the deadline. At the state capitol, I'm Abby Kasoris.
Well, today, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp declared a state of emergency ahead of anticipated winter weather set to hit the region tomorrow. It activates the State Operations Center starting now. Now, we should note we could have slick roads this weekend. Georgia Department of Transportation crews are gearing up for the threat of snow. Across the state, the DOT has replenished nearly 2 million gallons of brine from this past weekend. There are 570 snow removal units being mobilized as well. We should also note, because of the anticipated snow set to hit the region tomorrow, we are upping our coverage right here at WTOC. Tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., we will have updates here on WTOC Plus and the Facebook page. At the top of every hour, we'll be bringing in our meteorologists to track the snow as it heads into the area. And then after the afternoon, when we are expected to actually see snowfall, we'll have plenty of reporters out in the field. We are increasing our presence on the roads tomorrow to keep you all as informed as possible. So stay tuned for that expanded coverage tomorrow with that anticipated snowfall across the coastal empire and low country. Well, turning our attention back to state news, some Georgia lawmakers want to wipe out your property taxes, and now they have a bill that could make that happen. However, some local governments worry that loss of revenue could impact their budgets. Political reporter Doug Reardon with our sister station in Atlanta explains this won't happen right away.
Property taxes across Georgia have risen at an unsustainable rate.
Republicans in Georgia's House, led by Speaker John Burns, announced their plan to completely eliminate property taxes in the state by 2032.
Georgia House Republicans believe no one should ever face the loss of their home because they can't afford to pay rent to the government.
The plan slowly doubles homestead tax exemptions until they're gone, but with property taxes acting as a main source of revenue for local governments, including school systems, there's concern over how it'll be made up.
And I think it does rethink the way that we fund local governments, and that's part of what we're doing here.
The bill suggests municipalities raise or repurpose local sales taxes, reassess services like fire, water, and sewer, or simply spend less. The bill, called the HOME Act, would require a constitutional amendment, and GOP lawmakers in the House need to convince 21 of their Democratic colleagues that this is a good idea.
That's always my main concern when talking about property tax relief, is how do schools supplement their funding?
For new Democratic lawmaker Bryce Berry, a school teacher, the main concern is loss of revenue for education.
But I hope there are things in the bill that mitigate harm towards school districts so that they can recover losses from property taxes.
Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.
Well, there's been backlash over a resolution that calls for renaming a mountain in Forsyth County after President Trump. Republican State Representative David Clark introduced the proposal that wants to rename Sawney Mountain after the president. Sawney Mountain is actually named for a Cherokee chief. Local lore says he refused to leave the land and that his spirit still protects it today. Mary Helen Magruder's family donated more than 300 acres to the Trust for Public Land, preserving Sawney Mountain from development so it could belong to everyone. Now, that legacy is under pressure.
It's a slap in the face, actually, to every citizen of the state of Georgia, to think that one man can decide to change the name of something.
Now, our sister station reached out to the lawmaker behind this resolution to ask if he's reconsidering after the backlash. So far, no response. Well, more than 100 families are pushing Georgia lawmakers for family-friendly policies. Families from all over Georgia got to speak with lawmakers inside the Capitol this week to lay out their priorities. It was all part of the 9th annual Strolling Thunder. Sarah Hammond with our sister station has the story.
Yes, it's a true blessing.
Charnel Furba says becoming a mother wasn't something she planned on, but now she says advocating for her son Noah is her top priority.
He's like the best thing I've ever had. I didn't want kids at first, but he's been such a blessing. He's taught me so much.
That's why she and hundreds of other parents and their children showed up for the annual Strolling Thunder at the Capitol. It's an opportunity for these parents to talk face to face with their lawmakers.
What I love is watching legislators interact with the babies that are their littlest constituents under the Gold Dome. We don't see that very often during the legislative session. And so truly, kids have a voice today. And I think that's so important.
Organized by the Georgia Early Education Alliance for Ready Students, parents came from more than 20 cities in Georgia, including Caitlin Kopsa, who traveled from Augusta to push for early childhood interventions and more assistance for chronically complex children.
There are kids with medical issues that aren't seen on the surface level and are really medically complex and really expensive, and our traditional healthcare system isn't set up for it, so they really need expanded access to Medicaid.
Furba says a lot of parents in Georgia need help.
We need better child care. We need affordable child care. We need better paying jobs. I can't spend $300 a week for child care making $12 an hour. That does not work.
And that's what Executive Director Mindy Binderman says today is all about, talking to the people who have the ability to make changes.
We believe that children should be at the center of good policy, and we center children by bringing them to the Capitol.
Well, efforts are underway to help give people a way to accurately describe what kind of help they need during an emergency. If passed, Eric's Law would let people with hidden disabilities place special butterfly symbols on their ID. A 21-year-old man in Maryland who has autism created the law. He said his mother taught him early on what to do if he is ever questioned by police, but some of his friends might not know.
She told me to put my hands up, call out her number, and y'all, I have autism. And I told my mom I can do that, but I was concerned about others who look like me with a disability would not know what to do. They probably would be scared, they probably be shocked.
Eric's Law has been introduced in both the Georgia House and Senate. It would need to be voted on in both to become law. And that is going to conclude things here for Governing Georgia for this week. This is a weekly show we do on WTOC Plus every Friday at 2:30 on WTOC Plus, as well as the WTOC Facebook page throughout the Georgia legislative session, which, believe it or not, we're about a quarter way through the 40-day session. We'll be back next week at 2:30 to break down the biggest state stories from under the Gold Dome. Until then, we'd like to thank you all for watching.